You know, because things get really tight that time of year. I mean,
Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute.
Weekends, for refs, and for all, you know, all those reasons.
Hold on a minute.
You guys, did you notice they put this, they kind of came back with a, the board came back with the FYSA board came back with a, the cup. Instead of having a league now, they're going to have a cup, which actually, you know, not bad.
I like, believe it or not, and I told him that, I like that idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's a 2-weekend deal.
Yeah, I know.
And it takes the place of having the younger ages in Commissioner's Cup.
Yes.
So,
yes.
I mean, that's a useful deal.
What is that?
Really.
What are they, 9s and 10s or 11s and 12s?
Futures Cup, I think it's 11s and 12s.
Okay.
But hold on a minute. Oh, come on. I've been having problems trying to get from my mail server to the league's mail server. It just doesn't seem, so here's what I'm going to do. Hang on. I'm going to.
But you know what that cup is. You guys all understand that was they wanted to have that futures league, and that thing got shot down. I don't know if they're going to participate, but they've come up with this cup idea, which really we're just trying to. Aren't you trying to get in the beginning? Trying to get it in the fall? I mean, in the spring? The fall, pardon me. The fall, early fall.
The Futures League did not get shut down because what happened was if we were going to shut it down, some of those teams didn't get into any leagues. And
but it's not going to go any further than this year.
Yeah, correct. Okay, Sherry, where's the minutes are in here?
Oh, very good.
All right. There's September's minutes.
Take a look at it. Someone please make a motion to accept the minutes in a second.
I'll make a motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. All right. But you can't get the agenda up that way, can you?
Yeah, sure I can. Sure I can.
Is the agenda's not on the web?
Well, okay. I don't really need to because I have it right here.
Okay, good.
Hold on. I do have the.
Yeah, I would just like to ask an outline. I know
Here's the agenda, right? This is today's agenda right here.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we got Treasurer's report. Greg, can you give us a little idea where we're at all?
Well, yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, we're at the same spot we were last year. We haven't taken in any more or any less. Basically, we may be a couple $1,000s either way. It appears we got everybody paid. I don't
know how you guys figure that out.
Well, I don't know. Sherry does it. Don't include me. She's a genius.
Because that money comes in, and I can't. Thinking about it, I can't figure out how you assign the money to the club.
She's a genius at that stuff. And here's what we have to.
That's not all she's a genius at.
Sherry does what? Sorry, I have to step away.
Yeah, one of the things that I have to do, and I'll have to ask Sherry with that. We need a way so that when people use PayPal, we know who they are. We don't. If FC Tampa sends in $5,000 in PayPal, unless it's a unique amount, we don't know who sent the $5,000.
Well, Greg, actually, are you talking about registrations? Because they're paid through
anything.
It's not PayPal though. It's through the
that's Who Got Soccer.
Right.
Right. That's Who Got Soccer, but PayPal for fines and that kind of stuff.
Right.
We don't know who's sending it.
Well, that's not really true because it sends an email and then I usually forward it to you with the name of who it's for.
Right.
Oh, the PayPal sends an email.
Yes, yes. It'll say
But,
you
I
have
mean-
been sent X amount of dollars through PayPal, and
Yeah,
then
as long as you guys are comfortable with it, I mean, to me, it's incredible that we find everything.
But also, Greg, I said last time, the people sending can put a memo in the send before they send the money.
right.
Over in PayPal?
Spot for a memo.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can see it in the back, when you log into PayPal, I can see who paid.
Okay.
All
I
right.
can show you.
All right, good. I mean, have you been getting that? Have you been getting the budget up every month on the website? I never look. I mean, I know our beginning of the year like this, our condition is good anyway. So it's just a matter of how good. But we should be up quite a bit now. In the executive committee meeting, there is something about money coming up that I've got. So preliminary anyway. So that's why I was asking. So we're in about the same position. I would say we're no different. What are we, 30 teams up or 30 teams down maybe from last year?
Correct.
Total?
Yeah.
All right. So for all of these leagues and everything else, it's the same 500 something teams. You know, it's amazing. It's good. That's good. You know, the girls program thins out, is getting thinner. I don't know if there's anything we can do about that. I think we're just. I don't think it's us. I mean, I think it's a general pattern, which is somewhat troubling because you know I was always a strong part of this the whole youth soccer experience. You know, was that a lot of girls were involved and you know could get into the athletics. You know, and it worked for them. But I don't know why we're losing them. I mean, Alan, you got any ideas?
Well, I think a lot of it is it's financial, and a lot of it. I think the bigger clubs now are snatching up the really good players, and the local, you're just seeing that they're not getting enough players. I mean, it is thinning out, and I think some of it might be financial.
Well, yeah. Really, even for like your club?
No, our club, I think we got one. Well, last year we had two U18-19s, mine aged out, and we have another one that's coming up, and he's got about, how many has he got? 20?
And 20.
Like 20 girls.
20,
So
yeah.
it's there, but you could see it just by other teams and other leagues, like you said. It's just thinning out.
That's general. I mean, that's one of the troubling parts of this FYSA group is the things that are really seem to be, you know, long-term problems that we could address and maybe do something about. The referees, the lack of the girls slowing down.
Yeah.
We waste all this time, you know, showing us how to fill out insurance forms at the AGM. For me, I would have these you know, discussions, like panel discussions with these different you know, subjects.
Yeah.
And start to get a lot of people thinking about it in a room. That's when you come up with stuff, you know. That's when good ideas and people saying, here's what we did, and you know, all that type of stuff. But they don't do that. They don't you know, that would be an important role that they would fulfill, especially at the AGM, and we just don't seem to get it. But that's, you know, just me.
Hey, Paul, one of the things we need somebody to bring as a motion, not a motion, but get in the bylaws is to create a board position for referee liaison.
Well, we had one, you know, and it didn't seem like
Well,
who would they liaison with?
FSR.
Well, I mean, we got Merit. Merit's.
No. On the FYSA board.
Oh. Well, yeah, there used to be. Mario was in that spot for a while. What, did they just get rid of it?
What they've done, yeah, they got rid of it. And I seriously, with all the complaints I heard this weekend about, nobody having referees, assigners. Those people aren't doing their job. They're not sending in the reports correctly, blah, 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 blah. We need somebody that's going to be the point person with FSR. And by default, the president of FYSA does that. And that's too much on his plate to do that.
Well, or he's not capable of it. I mean, you got to have someone that's
Could be.
the ref, that may understand the system there. I can. It's the most Byzantine thing. In fact, if you guys remember at our AGM, I asked a question and they explained how the board of FSR is made up. And there is the problem, Greg, because on the board of FSR, there are, I think or youth soccer gets 2 or 3 or, whatever. And there's 16 people on it. Well,
right.
Youth soccer is probably 97% of their customer.
Right.
Right. I mean, the other ones don't matter. There's not enough to even matter. And you've got a board that has, 2 people that are vital, involved with it. So I think the FSR board starts off being a problem because it isn't sensitive to the needs of their largest customer, the youth soccer customer. So I mean, you can liaise all you want, but it seems like they just don't get it. But I'm not. I'm not feeling that well tonight, so I'm going to keep moving here so we can keep going. You got anything else, guys? David, anything down there that's going on that we need to know about from the?
Nothing I've heard of. Nothing I've heard going on at the club or anything. We have our monthly meeting tomorrow, so.
Okay. Well, you guys.
It's been a month.
You guys may not have been. I may be getting these emails because I know Greg. I was assuming Greg or somebody was getting them from Ed. What's Ed's last name? Manley. Kinsley. Ed has gone down to Minnesota, David, like in your area, a couple of times. I mean, 2 or 3 times.
Well,
and really gave rave reviews.
I think he's
out there, helping.
I think he's out there, and the sun has burnt his brain because I heard this past weekend of a major issue that they had out there with parents and coaches and everybody all over the place going berserk.
Well, that might be one game. I'm saying he's gone out for
one game or not. That's what they were told. One game and they're gone.
Yeah. Well,
but my point is, I think he is too sympathetic to the cause there, and is not reporting everything properly.
Yeah, I wouldn't agree with you there. I mean, Ed's kind of a stickler, kind of a rules type of guy. I don't think if he saw something that was that out of hand, that he wouldn't.
Well, then why didn't he report this last outbreak?
I don't know. Was he there?
I don't know. I don't even. He could walk right up and sit next to me. I wouldn't know who he is. Before I forget, who's on by phone?
Can you hear me, Brian? The Spirit?
Oh, Brian.
Brian Dozark, the Spirit.
Oh, hey, Brian. How you doing?
How you doing, Brian?
Good. How you doing? Good.
Okay, I just want to know whose phone number that was.
All right. Okay, whose dog is that?
That's fine.
He needs a deeper voice. Hey.
That was mine. She's kicked out now.
Well, one of these days we'll have a dog meeting where everyone bring your dogs in. Hey, so going down this the 1920 red card site, how is that working out this year, Greg and Sherry?
Well, like always, pretty good. Most everyone submits the proof, not all. But it's working out okay.
All right. So new business. There's 2 other things to this, and I can do it in this agenda. I mean, effectively, it's the executive committee anyway. schedules were locked. We started last weekend. And, you know, we got one washout already, so that's going to be a major reschedule nightmare. And like I said, everyone that can encourage their clubs to reschedule as quickly as possible, because it really, once we get into that spring, man, the makeup time is really tough to find. Review rescheduling rules, everybody. Of course, I'm preaching to the choir here, but we've got a 4 or 5 already this year, and I guess it's all the time. But these people were indignant and you know, just calling us out and you know, telling them, you know, you guys, because we were not. They thought they had like the greatest reason ever not to show up for a game that, you know, 3 days ahead of time they're trying to reschedule. In fact, we had a guy, we have someone from Plant City. I don't know what they ever did, Sherry. I don't know what the weekend brought, but he had had a tragedy in the family, which is terrible, right? And we are, you know, he's calling the other club. Now, if it was the other club, they could have done a little bit, you know, you can open up your heart a little bit and say, geez, we'll try and reschedule it, but they wouldn't. For whatever reason, they said they couldn't, they didn't have any time. And from that point, we go back to our rescheduling rules. If the other team, for whatever reason, is not going to reschedule, you don't tell everybody, well, we're not coming because, you know, we don't have a coach. And I emailed him back saying, I get it that we wouldn't expect, you know, he says, I can't imagine how you guys would expect somebody to have these problems and then show up at a game. My family's more important. So, no doubt, but that's the club's problem to solve, and not our scheduling body. You know,
where's the DOC?
Because you got to have you have to have an assistant. Yeah, well, you got to have an assistant, head coach. Somebody else has got to be able to go to that team, to that match, for that coach. We have stuff happen to coaches all the time, but if the other team is not going to reschedule, there's no reason, short of some real horror, that we can be doing that, because you know, we'd be tied in knots with the amount of games we have. As it is, we get 1,000 of these things, so it's terrible. And on a rescheduling thing, I don't think everybody really understands the you know, the size of this thing, trying to make exceptions for one person, and them, you know, just going off the deep end as far as you know, what's wrong with us. And you know, maybe next year it doesn't happen. Even if I explain it in the meeting or somebody explains it in the meeting, it still doesn't get anywhere. But just to reiterate here that these rescheduling rules are set for a reason, and we're in rather inflexible at times once we set it in motion, because everything's in motion. It's hard for us on a Thursday to just force a reschedule. His thing was, we'll just, you know, eliminate the game and we'll make it up. Oh, you know, don't happen that way. So I don't know, Sherry, I don't know if Northport ever called in and canceled their games, did they?
They did wind up closing their fields after all that. So.
Well, so that solved that problem.
Right.
You know. But he said in an email to me that it didn't matter because the girls, in solidarity with him, the girls were not going to go to the game.
Yeah, he did. I saw it.
And you know, I thought, you know, someone out of Plant City needs to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
You know, because every time a team was, you know, there's no solidarity there. You got a match, go play.
Right.
I mean, not showing up for a game is not helping anybody. So, but anyway, so the reschedule rules are there. We're constantly getting people accusing us of being just horrible people, but you know, we are more flexible than anybody else I know of, and you know, that's all we can do. The referees must send in supplemental report, and red card is issued, and we just got to keep following that up. I don't know what else to say. Everybody, I think, knows that. 2 other pieces of business, new business. One, we were approached by a corporation, Fantastic Sam's, and they're looking to get their name out there, looking to find a way or a venue in youth sports to get people back in going to their places, both the mothers and the kids. And from what we understand, there could be a pretty good chunk of money in this. So our idea was we're kicking it around for a couple of weeks. We haven't really come back. They haven't come back to us, but we've got to kind of think ourselves through. So my thinking is that if we can get X thousands of dollars, we use it. We may want to use that for the money that we give to the teams that go to the cups that win the league, right, and win the Premier League, and call it Fantastic Sam's, whatever. And secondly, the other thing would be to send a team to Dallas Cup, Raleigh Cup or whatever, and pay most of it so that they didn't have to, or go in England, whatever it is, to put composite teams together and use some of those funds as the Fantastic Sam's as a reward system to the people who are in our league,
Right.
For Fantastic Sam's. Now, I think what we will have to do is to open our email, which is, I'm not so sure. I know that it's done, and I realize that stuff's gone, but that's how they would primarily, I think, contact the people that they want to contact, and they may want to do something at the fields. So I'll keep you abreast, but it's a major chunk of money. We could really, we could use some of these things we think about doing. Are expensive if the kids aren't going to pay $1,500 each. The idea would be to make this the Fantastic Sam's whatever reward or whatever, so that they can get to one of these far-flung events and do it without a huge amount of money coming out of their pockets. So as it
Have
goes
they given
further,
you, Paul, have they given you anything as far as an indication as to what they want or what they're looking for?
well, that's what we're waiting for
outside
right now. It went back to them. What I think they'll want, though, Brian, is some access. If they can't get email or some access like that, it would not be worth their while, I don't think.
Right.
But it could be a chunk. I mean, it could be 25 grand or 20 grand. It could be a lot of money that we can take for the reward part of the thing, for being and for playing in the league and for winning the league and everything else. That's the permanent. I don't know if it's permanent money, but I mean that's a way of not taking it out of our pocket, which is what we always do. We're not poverty stricken either. We've been careful with our money, but that would be a nice thing. It's something special like that would really plug in and be an extra reason why, if you play in this league, this can happen, either as a team or a kid or whatever, for both.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, what's the budget, Greg? What does it run for us to get people to the state cups and whatnot? The league winners. There's 10 teams.
It's $900 a team.
Yeah. So they all of them go to the state cup, but I mean, there were 10 teams, right? Right. Correct.
Right. Correct.
13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 6, 2, 12.
Right. So you're looking at basically 12 grand.
Yeah. So that's half of that, that money, making it a permanent, like putting their name on it or something like that. So the second thing is I'd like you to consider nominating someone. The board's a little bit short right now. We're functioning fine. But we'd like to replace Mike. We lost Mike and Kai because they went on to bigger and better things. Not that they're still with us, but can't be on a board. So I'd like to get them filled in. And the first person I have contacted who I would like to recommend, we're always striving. And years ago when I got on the board, I know like out east, we had I didn't, and I don't think anybody did. We didn't know. We know there were teams out there and clubs out there, but we didn't know them that well. We just weren't effective in bringing them in. And I think Alan was the first one we found. I had to call. I called a number. We had a number for their club, which was out like in a field somewhere. That's how out of touch we were with our members. And I called and the number would never answer. And then I finally got somebody. I got Alan's number, and I said, "Yeah, I'm calling this number." And Alan said, "Well, no one ever answers that phone. So why would you have that number?" So
and they still don't.
Now we've got.
And they still don't.
Alan, we've got a lot of So in that vein, I think we'll go down to the girl, the former president of Cape Coral. Cape Coral's another, far away member, a far flung member, but they're, I think they're the biggest club. I think they're one of the biggest clubs in C, period. Bar none. But certainly they don't put as many teams into USA for a variety of reasons as say, Alan and Les and you guys and FC Tampa and some of the other ones, but they do put a substantial amount but they're a real good community club. They really have the idea. They're down there really knocking them dead. I think they've got, 3,000 kids or so. They got a real good sized club. And it's Kathy Hunter I'm talking about. Kathy was president down there for 9 years. She coaches women's soccer. She coaches the high school team. She coaches at the field. She's the treasurer. They're real boosters of USA. They're real strong supporters. And I think it would be good. She'd be a good addition for a lot of things because she's down there. And when you've got that, same thing with Braden River, David. You really get a much better feel when someone's on the board on these bigger clubs to not that it's just to be big clubs, but it does help to solidify the relationship and they got somewhere to go to say what's happening there. You say, well, here's what happened.
So who's this gal, Paul? Who's this gal?
Kathy Hunter. Kathy Hunter. Yes, and I'll get you her. I'll get you her contact information.
Okay, it's Abby Hunter.
Hunter, and she's she just happened to be at a wedding in Orlando this week when I talked to her. So
okay, what club is she with?
Cape Coral.
Which club?
Cape Coral.
Oh, Cape Coral. Gotcha. Okay.
And so with your, if someone would nominate her, or maybe we can, I think we have a quorum here, right?
Yeah, we do. I'll nominate Kathy Hunter. Will we BP or what?
I don't know. That's we'll figure out where to put. We're missing junior boys right now. That wouldn't be a good spot for her necessarily, but we can figure that out.
Did she serve as a member at large?
Right now she's going to be a
at large
today, and we'll figure out an assignment because we've got a while to figure that out.
How about Marco?
Well, nobody else tonight, Greg.
Okay.
We got some other things working, and we don't know about. What I'd like to do. There's another guy that's associated with. I think Mike Illinois has lost. FC Tampa's right now probably puts as many teams in the league or puts the most teams in the league right now. And you'd like to have someone from there too to control it. Since Coco would be the logical guy because he's been around so long and he runs the central Schimberg complex. But we got him already close to us. We already know him. He's part and parcel of all of our stuff. So we're looking at another guy that is at Mike's place that has a tremendous background that would reach out a little further and help. So, but I haven't gotten any contact with him, and I don't think we'll do it. But I'd like to keep it not an FC Tampa seat, but I mean, always having somebody from FC Tampa.
Yeah, I got it. What happened?
So that's we have Kathy Hunter nominated. Can I ask for votes now? I got an aye for me.
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
All right. Well, I'll let her know this week she's on, and I think I don't know. You guys probably some of you know her. She's been around forever, but she's smart. She's good. She's solid, and like I said, they're real boosters of the league. They really understand the value of the league, and that's a good thing to have. Plus, like I said, they're a big club down there, and nothing but good things can happen there.
That's all I need to know. There was no.
All right. For the good of the game, you got anything?
Okay.
Les, you got anything? Usually have some.
Tell them to get over it. Tell them to get over it. Okay, no problem. I'm gonna tell them. No problem. Thank you. All right, bye.
All right. Hey, Juan's not on, is he? Juan is not here tonight?
No, but who's Jeff and Darian? Where are you guys from? Oh, that's Jeff Henderlong. Okay.
That's
My
the
bad.
name. That's the name.
My bad. I got to put this down on there.
No worries.
My bad.
Hey, Jeff, did you ever, I guess they finally squared away that woman that wanted all of your rosters from FC Tampa.
Honestly, she's my team manager. I don't think that protocol was to give her the information. But,
no, absolutely not.
I left it up to you guys. I mean, we're doing our thing. And
absolutely
if
not.
feedback, we know. I sent an email to you guys to say, let me know if anything changes. If not,
no. We didn't. We went back and said, look, as it turns out, many of her assumptions were wrong.
I only had 3 returning players from that team. So
yeah. Not only that, you also have a team in the Premier Division.
No, we don't.
Well,
no, we don't.
You're sure? Because
I only have one in 2018. That's my team that I coach.
Well, you're on the when I went in. Maybe it's last year's. I was looking.
Last year's probably. It was one last year. We had 2 teams, a U12 and 11-12.
Okay. Because I thought I said, well, you got a team in the already here, but those are the new schedules. I'll relook at that.
Yeah, no worries.
They were 12s. I mean, the other part of that is it's kind of insane. First of all, to reach out to you and say, I need your roster.
And present herself in her emails. She's an attorney. I'm like, okay, no big deal.
Well, and that's another thing. But people do that for me.
Yeah, I get it on my end as well, running the club. So
yeah.
I just thought it was funny that
when I see that in an email, I think that's so improper.
Oh, it was overstepping by all means. I just thought it was humorous.
And you almost like to go back to the attorneys that do it and say to their company and say, I don't know what you guys do, but you got someone here using your company's name on a private email to somebody complaining something. And I said, I don't think that's.
I thought it was laughable at best.
I don't think the law firm would like it, right?
Yeah, I don't think they'd appreciate it as well. And actually, I have friends who have been involved with attorney businesses, and that's not just proper in general. I mean, honestly, if there's a concern, there's proper channels to go through. So I just really put it in your hands and left it at that because.
Well, it died. It stopped right there. I just realized that it wasn't that some of the assumptions were completely wrong and.
Like I said, I had 3 returning players from last year, so I have 7 rec players that have been brought up onto that team.
And we were when we go to a club like the Needham, when I see that, I know you guys are at the meeting and everything else. There was a reason your team was placed there. You guys wouldn't have missed that. And I said to her, people don't rarely the teams sandbag. Usually it's the other way. They're trying to force their teams up into the first division.
I'm the one who originally placed all the teams, so I knew exactly what she was talking about, but I looked at everything, obviously applied the rules as according, and like I said,
not only that, Jeff, I mean, the roster that she was looking at was last year's probably. Right?
Yeah.
Or off a gut. And then I got a thing saying on that, like, God Soccer needs to. I said, well, I can't get God Soccer. So anyway, that was
heavy-handed and trip over their own feet typically.
Yeah, it's all part of this, though.
Yeah, it's part of it. I've experienced in my role here, so it's kind of laughable, like I said.
All right. Anybody else? How about the executive committee? We got anything, Greg, to go over there?
Well, I believe we just did.
Well, then we didn't approve the minutes. We didn't look at a protest and appeals with the North Lakeland and Tarpon Springs. Is that gonna?
Well, oh, I see. I didn't see that one. I was looking at 746, and that's the one we were just talking about with Jeff.
Yeah, and that's an improper. So everybody knows, nobody can get to a president of a club or anybody else and say, "I need your roster." You know, you can get the roster from the game, I think, right? Once you play, if you have a problem. But this was preemptory. They were basically saying this team didn't belong in a league, and that they're.
Well, the interesting thing is he was going directly at the team manager, which again they serve a function, but they're not all knowing.
How did she access that, Jeff?
What was that?
How does she access that? Is that listed somewhere where it's public information?
You can see team managers when you look at the game cards. You can see who's there, and sometimes it has their contact information or look it up.
But this was prior to the season. That's what I was scratching my head about.
Yeah,
you guys hadn't submitted a roster yet to anybody.
Yeah, we had. I'm not quite sure how she got it anyways as well, so I could look into that. But I mean, I used to be an adjuster at Allstate, and I can still do search on information because I used to deal with high-end claims. But I can go around systems. It's not too difficult to find contact information typically.
Yeah, it's kind of strange, but anyway, it was as it turns out, it was just it was silly and it just died right there. It was just a couple of emails we had to go back and forth before we figured out. Because if I'm not mistaken, before you submit your first roster, no matter what you have anywhere, until you go to that match, that is the official roster that day. Period.
Exactly.
So all of the kids, if you even had them all, Jeff, if none of them played that day, it wouldn't have been. In other words, you would have to go to an event and had this happen. Preemptory. I don't know that you can look at someone's roster and assume that that is a roster that you will see when you come to play. Correct? Because it could be anything, and the roster could be completely different by the time you get to the match.
Absolutely. Like we had a roster printout for today's game, and it had 9 players, and then the coach brought another one. He had 3 club pass players and added a few players over the week. So that game day roster is really what was.
No, I got that. Greg, and that's when do they print that? When typically do they print that? Friday night?
They can print it up to the game. If they got a printer in the clubhouse, they can print it right there before the game.
Okay.
Right.
Up until it hits the hands of the ref.
Exactly. But if they bring in club pass players not on the card, sorry, doesn't work.
Yeah.
Those club pass players could be from the CDL for all you know.
Yeah, although that's going to be a point of discussion later on this year. There's this whole thing with who can play and who can't in our bylaws really needs to be reread or rewritten, because it was made for 15 years ago, 20 years ago. The whole concept of not having kids play up or down, now you've got so many different leagues and so many different teams, and so they can club pass kids over from just about anywhere, and it doesn't technically break any of our rules, unless you make an assumption that those other leagues are all Division I quality, which is an assumption. It's not a fact, right? That's the issue we're going to have to grapple with at some point. Is we're going to have to be more open or more defining, because the way these leagues are popping up, if I have a kid on a roster for that league and then club pass them over to a USA game, there's no way on earth I'm going to know, where this kid necessarily comes from, what league. As long as he's an FYSA, he can club pass. So it's something I think we're in a day and age now where those old rules really are not.
Down 11 with a minute left.
They're not either strict enough, or they're not enforceable, and they don't make any sense to some degree either. but we won't, I'm not going to bother with it now. We are wading through it as we go on, because some of these complaints come from kids coming from different teams playing in a league, you know. I think that's in North Lakeland, is it not, Greg? Are we looking at that? You guys ready for the, I'm going to adjourn the regular meeting and go to the executive committee meeting, right?
Yeah, hold on.
We'll go right after this. We got one protest. 860. Now he has also submitted that and sent the money in, right?
I haven't seen anything.
I saw an email. Did you see an email today?
No, I haven't seen anything. Plus, I don't even have a game report. The referee never turned it in.
Seems to me he has something.
No, they did send in the check. She sent a check, or she sent an email and said she mailed a check.
When did she mail it?
Look at the email that I forwarded today.
All right, but be that as it may, we have no game report, so we have no referee's account of the game.
I think it was a roster issue anyway.
Well, okay.
What's the game number?
It involves secondary players and illegal.
Yes.
Okay, what? Oh, that. Okay, what is? What is the what age group?
U04 boys.
Is that U15?
Yes.
And who's at fault here? Tarpon?
Yes. I think it appears that way.
I know which one. We talked about this, Sherry. Didn't we?
No.
Where we had that number 16 kid club passed, I don't know how many times. And then
no, that's different. That's not the same thing.
That's not this one. Okay.
No. That was actually Dunedin, I think. This is game number 860.
Yeah, U16 boys, 3rd division. U16 boys.
Yep.
So we've got somebody. What did they
let me see
they
here.
passed them over from the Division 1, right?
Let's see. So that is Seminole. Okay, Coral.
I got it here. I mean, it was an email that came today, and all of the information's on the email.
How come I don't see it?
It was with the same, when I sent the agenda, Greg.
Is this a formal protest submission?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
Okay. All right, let's see what we got here.
So I think it's a matter of players listed, right?
Let's see what we got.
She's saying that there was a Division 1 team that played down, and that they started 10 minutes after the start time of the game and provided 2 different game reports.
2 different game cards or 2 different game reports?
She says the home team administrators were still working on their roster and getting player passes printed and laminated for that match.
Yeah. Okay.
Our coach checked the game report, but I think she means game card.
They had two different game cards.
Yeah, and had 13 players on the first one and 19 players on the second one.
And the second one included secondary players and Division 1 players.
Right.
Let me ask you something. Didn't we talk to, didn't you talk to Marco about this, Greg?
Marcelo?
Marcelo, I mean, yeah, because look here, if I remember correctly, let me try and refresh your memory if this is the one. They had a roster with like 20 kids or 22 kids on the Division One. So he's saying, well, you know, they wanted to try and get them some playing time because they're not playing on a Division One team.
May I address this?
Yes.
That is incorrect. We have had a problem with the roster.
Oh, that's right. You couldn't upload them.
We could not properly put the players into their appropriate rosters.
Right.
We had Sherry. I reported this to Sherry. I've worked with Rosemary at FYSA. And we have also worked with God Soccer itself. We could not place the players where they belong.
They wouldn't stay on there.
Whenever they came over, they would only go into the USA roster or into the card as either secondary and or club pass, even though that's where the players belong. We have two teams at that age group. One of the teams plays in the state league, Florida competitive whatever league, and in that league they are mixed. They do play for that event. However, the players that are in concern, those are actually rostered and in the official roster for the Division III team play.
Have you been able to have you been able to straighten it out yet?
We have. We had to have a lot of things going on with Rosemary, and they had to contact the God Soccer and actually fix that at their end because we could not. And Sherry, to this day, I still cannot fix my USA rosters. I have to contact Sherry and or Rosemary to fix those.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so so the kids that were on that roster were, in your opinion, Division III players. It was a fair.
They are on the official. They are officially on the Division III team. Our problem was that you could not place them, and I don't know what the problem is with the USA event rosters. You could not place them without them showing up either as secondary and or club pass. Okay. That was the only way we could put them into the card.
You got unless you have any questions about that, that's your. I understand it. The other part of this is intent. In other words, if you're working with a problem, that's one thing. I just don't see any intent here at all. You know that.
Well, did the players play the players on the roster, then the second roster with the secondary and the D1 players? Did they play in the game?
Those three players played in that game. Three of the players played in that game, but they are officially on that Division III team. It's just.
Did they play with a D1 team prior to that?
They played in the FSCL with the D1 team, not in the USA.
Yeah.
If they play to the USA team, we club pass them up to that team, but they are officially in the D3 team.
Yeah, so basically you're taking them from a D3 team and putting them up in those FSCL to have more lungs.
Marcelo, what age group is that? 14?
U16.
16. Damn.
Is it 16?
16.
Okay.
Yeah, 16. 15 should be 2005.
Yeah.
So what we're dealing with here is I mean, it seems like it's a clerical technicality and snafu. I don't see where there's.
It's a God Soccer problem with the USA roster.
I don't see where there's any intent to sandbag players in. It just doesn't make any sense either. You know. I mean, I don't know. You know, if anybody else can take a look at this, but I mean, it's I just don't. With that explanation, I don't see where we're going with upholding a protest person. What do you guys
Now,
think?
is there a 04 Premier team in USA?
Yes.
According to her letter, she's saying that these boys played on that 04 team.
They play, when they play in that.
Primary players.
Well, and here's our problem with our event roster. Those players are the Division 3 and their club pass up to Division 1. However, when we have to put them together for the FSCL or whatever that the new league is, and then if you add them back into their proper team, which is the Division 3 team, they would only, from our end, come up as secondary and or club pass. There was no way for us in GAT Soccer to do it. And I've been having a big problem, not just in that team, but with any team, to be able to put players into our USA roster. So every time that I have any issue like that, I've been having Sherry and eventually Rosemary fix that. So it's there's a problem. There's something going on in GAT Soccer. GAT Soccer support staff actually told me that it was something on the USA end. Rosemary told me that they would have to fix it, but those players are in the Division 3 team. They do play with Division 1, but as club pass players. They club pass up from Division 3 to Division 1.
See, we do a lot of club passing, and we have never had this kind of experience, this kind of problem over the years. So I don't know if it's a GAT Soccer problem or it's just a registrar problem who doesn't understand how to do it.
My registrar contacted me because I'm a lot more familiar with GAT Soccer, and I've been completely unable to fix this. I've reached out to Sherry multiple times regarding this issue.
And on our end, I don't have anyone else having the same problem.
Right.
And I checked all my settings, and everything is identical to last year. So other than I know how to fix it, I know there's an import button I press, but that's all I don't know what else I can do on our side.
My event roster, and I can send you a screenshot, does not have that import button, because you are supposed to have an import button to do exactly that. Mine doesn't have one. So I don't know what the problem is with that, whether it's league-based, account-based, or so. But I reached out directly to GAT Soccer to fix this issue, and I forwarded you the response. They told me that this was something that was not enabled by the league and that I would have to contact you.
Now, let me just back up. We don't have a referee report at all about the game? Do we have a referee report about the game?
I'll tell you 1 second. I can look.
Well, the problem wasn't the game, no less. It was.
Well, it's about what players checked in, really, because there were secondary players on that roster.
Yeah, but I think
the original roster had no secondary players or guest players, but the second roster had secondary and guest players.
We do have a game card for this game. They did send one in, so give me a second here.
And did North Lakeland object to the game at the end of the game?
I think right after. That's when
technically, Les, they're supposed to, if they saw the rosters and there was a problem right there, they say we're playing this under protest.
Right, or don't sign the game.
That's what they needed to do. The thing is that we've got the president of the Tarpon Club who is intimately familiar with the process and saying they're D3 players. So either we take him at his word, which I would, or we try and figure out how it is. But we know now that the problem is not intent to put D1 players back on a D3 team.
Yeah, but wouldn't on a situation like this, why wasn't the opposing coaches notified of this problem so we wouldn't have this?
Right.
And going forward,
That I
why
don't-
don't you contact your opposing coaches? Because if I'm a coach and
Well, we
I
could-
see this,
could we write it
and
in?
it's legit. It's a legit problem because you have D1 players. I understand what he's saying, but the thing of it is, nobody's communicating to everybody else's problem until if we didn't get this protest, 99% of the league wouldn't know about it.
And why wasn't the league contacted about it?
Well, I thought he said he contacted Sherry.
Les, when I found out that this was indeed a problem, was that day. They told me that their players are not showing up. When the game card was printed, it would bring everybody, but bring them in as, like I said, either club pass and or the only way to place a player, even a player that's in the official roster. You move it over, and it would say a club pass. So that's the issue that I had. I've contacted Sherry multiple times about this issue, not just with this team. I'm having this problem in most of my teams. Now, most of my teams didn't play two different leagues, so I didn't have that issue. But there are some game cards where I would actually, the first game, they go to print the game card and it's completely blank, even though all of the players are in the FYSA roster. We still cannot create an event roster so that the players show in the game cards. I've had to contact Sherry to do that for every team so far.
How many games has this team played?
I don't know. I'll have to take a look.
Sherry, did you find the referee report?
I just emailed you the
Yep,
game card.
I got it.
Actual game card. I do not have an online game report, but that was the game card.
Was there writing players on this roster also? Did we have players who were written in on the roster?
Written in? No.
Yeah, there is a handwritten name on one of the on the that was scratched out later on, but it was written in by hand.
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
have a
seeing
copy
it.
of that. Did you send that copy to me as well, Sherry?
Oh, yes, let me forward it to you. I'm sorry, I sent it to the board distribution list.
Because we've been having a lot of problem with this, especially with Florida Coast in the last few weeks. Again, Florida Coast did the same writing thing and moving players from one team to the next.
I'm aware of that. I know that we can't write in teams. My players, my register knows that. Yeah.
I'm sorry, can you tell me your email real quick?
President@tarponfc.com.
That's right. Okay. I just wasn't seeing it quickly. There it is. Okay, I just sent it to you.
I'm trying to read that name. I'm not sure which one that player is.
See, without a referee report and the comments, it's kind of hard to figure out what happened without the referee comments. If there was any objection to the roster at the game.
Oh, we could just ask Jody.
I feel like she emailed after and said, you know, she was questioning it. See if I can find her original email. And then we told her, you know, she had to file a formal protest.
Yeah, I've got the note from the coach too. I mean, because I read her email and she's making a lot of assumptions that are not true. The fact that home team administrators were working on the rosters and getting players passes printed, that's not correct. The team manager or the assistant coach did forget the passes and the new game card. So all they had was the old game card. But as we discussed before, you can print your game card up to
Yes.
time.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Well, one of the things is that when you check the roster the night before, that's not a good time to check it for a 3 o'clock game because that can change very quickly. And so, checking the roster the night before for a 3 o'clock games, that is a tough one because, between the next morning and 3 o'clock, the roster could change.
I agree. You have to go by the latest thing that was printed.
Well, that was the point I was just making, Les, on all of these things. Until you present that roster to the referee,
right,
there's no assumption you can make about the roster.
Right.
Right.
When it gets in the referee's hands, that's when we care about it. Anything that went before it, like this woman checking all of these things, it was to no avail. If they hadn't played a match,
right,
there's no official roster.
Well, I tell you what, from this point on, if everything's legit, I think it's fair for something to be done about contacting the opposing coaches before the game, because you could have 2 or 3 more of these people saying this. So we might rehash this whole problem 2 weeks from now.
Well, maybe Sherry can send out a thing to the league. Can you do that, Sherry?
Or just the boys, just in that one division. I mean, it doesn't have to be.
That's what I'm saying. Just to the D3 coaches.
And that's just out of respect.
And the D3 coaches that haven't played them yet.
Right, exactly.
And remind your coaches that they can't write in players on the roster.
Yeah. Well, how many years has that been at this point? I mean, we haven't written in 3 or 4 years, correct?
Longer than that, probably.
But this, I mean, I don't know.
I did find her original email. I'm going to send it real quick.
But they did not protest it before the game. Now, I wouldn't throw a protest out because they didn't catch it during a game. But
I tell you what probably happened also is they probably saw what was going on, and then it takes time to investigate the players. You have to get online and look them up. And they probably found these players were registered under D1 after the game. I could see that happen because it can happen.
She actually says that in her email here. She says, my coach asked where all these other players came from, and the heir shrugged his shoulders as he didn't know. The game was played and ended in a tie. After the game, my coach pulled the game report from the schedule and wanted me to check and see where these players came from. And then she goes on and on. So I'm going to send this to you right now. So that was her original email sent on October 2nd, I think was the date. Yeah, October 2nd.
Well, in fairness, you also don't want to make accusations you can't substantiate out at the beginning of the game and make your protest, but it's hard to tell with the players. Turning that card right up into that game.
Right.
The other side of this, the practical side, these two teams tied. Obviously, whatever MLS players were substituted in, they obviously didn't have to expect that they were any better than this D3 team they were playing. There didn't seem to be an enormous imbalance on the field because of it, which is really why we have these rules. We don't have the rules just to make us all jump through hoops trying to get these rosters straight. The sense of the rules when we instituted them was to keep, because when these rules were instituted, this was the only league. There were 750 teams, and this was the only league. And guys were really trying to get in the first division. It wasn't easy with 750 teams. So what happened, or what was happening, was they would have a second division team. They wanted to get up into the top two, right? So they would like to have used first division players on that team so they'd have a better record if they could. That's why that came about. You couldn't play those players down. You could play up, but you couldn't play down. If you think about playing up or down, just think for a second that those three kids, let's say, are rostered to a D3 team. They play up to D1, right? So they're on a bench. They're going to see some time in the D1 league. Obviously, they're not the frontline D1 players, but so no matter if you added these kids, the logic of it says the kids should have made it. They were not supposed to be playing because of their skill level. That's really the essence of this rule. Not designed to, have problems like this. The essential part of the rule is we want as fair a game as we can get. If three kids come in and they get they obviously have no big bearing on the results of the match.
No.
Not that you shouldn't check these rosters, but I'm saying if you go further back to the logic of it, the logic says that what's the problem, Northport? Well, I don't like these players playing. The fact of the matter is they didn't go out there and whoop them 8-1, and these three kids score all the goals. Obviously, it was a tie match.
And one more thing, and that you bring in some players for this specific game, I can understand that. But these are the three players that have been playing with that team all along. They're in all the game cards.
I have one question, she mentioned about looking online and see a D1 roster. I'm not sure how she saw the D1 roster, or how she pulled that up.
That goes back to the same thing, right?
And if that was a USA D1 roster or not, I don't know.
Until that D1 team shows up at that match, that is the roster of kids that are playing that day.
But the argument about the roster changing overnight to 19, that happens all the time.
Absolutely.
And as long as the roster presented before the game,
correct,
the players are eligible, then that's not an issue. I guess the real issue is, are these D1 players, or they're D3 players, or they're club pass? Correct. And it's kind of hard if there's a problem with the system. It's hard to say. But I don't have that problem, so I don't know. And we have done a lot of club passing over the years, and we have never had that problem. So,
hey, Marcelo, wasn't this the team where you had one of them with an S on it, registered as a secondary player?
Absolutely, and I spoke with you about that one as well, Craig. And you contacted Rosemary to help me with this problem, and Rosemary had to contact FYSA. And basically, at the end, they told me, yes, that there's a problem. They can fix it at their end, but we cannot. Import button that Sherry mentions is not there in my system.
Right. Well, you must have re-registered them, because I don't see the S on there anymore.
We had Rosemary, and she contacted somebody else, I believe, at God Soccer to be able to fix that.
Okay. So the roster is now fixed.
They fixed it at their end, but we couldn't do it.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. Good.
I'll send you what I can do is this. Let me send you the roster of both of this, because I've gotten this straightened out. I can send you the roster of both of these teams, the D1 team and D3 team, the official roster, and that's what we have have. And you can go back to the player game reports previously, and you should be able to see that these players have been in that. Technically, we had an issue. I think that's the main problem that we have.
Okay.
Hey, I do have one question. In the league itself, in that D3 league, how are both those teams doing? Does anybody know?
Or are they what?
Look
How are
up.
they doing?
Let me take a look at that right now.
Sometimes when you see that, it makes the clouds.
Our team is in second place, and which one is?
North Lakeland.
It's in fifth place.
Oh, it's North Lakeland. Okay. So I mean, North Lakeland. It's not like they're in first. Sometimes you see teams in first place and they just. Yeah, they're throwing anything at it.
Well, North Lakeland's only played 4 games. Liverpool played 7 games.
Yeah, maybe that's why.
But North Lakeland is 2-0-2, so they have tied 2-game, 1-2 game. Liverpool played 7 games, 5-1-1. So it appears if you're just looking at the number of games played, they're pretty evenly matched team at this point.
Yes, and that's what showed on the field.
All right.
Okay. Yep. So if we have the problem resolved, I with the score tied 0-0, I'm gonna say we move on from this.
Absolutely.
Yes, I agree.
You guys, everybody else agree? Is ever still with us? Whoever hasn't fallen asleep.
agrees.
What was North Lakeland supposed to be on this call to defend themselves? They didn't appear?
Well, North Lakeland, they launched the protest. I don't know if they got.
I thought they were going to show up for the meeting so they could make their point.
Maybe they didn't. But,
okay.
But
right,
I thought they were adequately represented. I mean, we really, looked at this 10 different ways. We've got the president of Tarpon. We think we got it squared away. I don't believe anyway, personally, there's any intent there to load up a D3 team.
You hope not.
Yeah,
I know. I agree.
Can you send me?
That's like the same complaint we got for the Dunedin under 12 team, is that the parent was doing all of this work to make sure that things were fair for her kid, and they hadn't played a match yet.
Can you send me those rosters that said you were going to send, just for my records, please?
Yep, I'm sending them right now.
Okay. So. All right. So we're good. We'll move on from this.
All right. So we're going to turn. We are not going to uphold the appeal, correct?
Right.
Okay. Everybody agreed to that? All of the rest of the board?
Agree.
David, Allen?
Agree.
All right. That's the last thing I've got. Anything else? Before I pass out.
Nope.
It looks like Sherry. It looks like you got something.
There was just that. I'm trying to remember. I think it was Citrus, where the 2 coaches.
Oh yeah, the Citrus Lake Wales game.
Yes, and I did just get an email from one of the coaches saying he would have thought someone from USA would have reached out to him.
Well, which coach is that? Because I emailed everyone in the original chain of email, and I also emailed you to see the game report, and there was nothing on the game report at all.
That's right.
And the game report, if the referee didn't write up any of the stuff, I didn't see where we had an issue because nothing was written in the game report.
Right, and that's what I thought we decided.
The only thing on the game report was the Lake Wales coach refused to sign the game report. That's it.
Yeah, guys, for what it's worth.
So nothing in the email was substantiated by the referee at all.
Right. For what it's worth, I contacted the referee just about 40 minutes ago, and he said he did not hear anything derogatory, abusive, or anything directed towards him, players, or anybody else. Now,
I felt it was a non-issue, so I didn't go any further with it after requesting the referee report. I did an email to both clubs, replying to everyone on the email, including Robbie, and that's where we left it.
I think that's as much as you can do, Les, don't you figure? I mean, you can't.
I mean, there was nothing in the game report to follow up on anything else.
You know, over and over again, unfortunately, when you don't have an independent third party telling you what happened,
Well,
you can't take one or the other unless it's,
yeah. Paul,
it's difficult.
the ref told me that the reason he didn't put anything in there because there was nothing to put in there.
Right, okay. So,
Okay, so then it's well, after I saw the referee report, I told Robbie, who reached out to me, and the coach did respond, and his team manager in an email, that if there's nothing in the game report, then it's nothing to move forward with.
what was Robbie's opinion of the whole thing with the I mean, sometimes you got coaches, you say, yeah, the guy's.
Well, he didn't like what he see in the report about the coach, and he doesn't know the coach to be that way.
Huh.
So, you know,
okay.
based on that, since there was nothing in the report, I just felt there was no need to proceed any further.
That's the only thing we've got, you know. That's the only thing we got.
And if the referee said there's nothing, there's nothing.
No, I got it. All right. Everybody, someone want to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
A motion to adjourn?
You want to second it, David?
I second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And plus, if you got anything, well, Les, I talk to you or email you, Alan, the same thing. If there's something going on, we don't have to wait for the meeting. I mean, we can communicate back and forth. We've done a great job, I think, as a board, staying on things as the problems are emerging. So,
right.
It's these meetings.
Well, I think
get things done.
I think when these things comes up at games, the first thing we need to look at is the game report to see what's on the game report.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's got to be a start. That's got to be a starting point. Because there's always a lot of he say, she say, and you never know who's telling the right story.
Exactly.
All right. I'll see you guys in another month.
Yes, sir. You got it. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
So, unless I show up at your house
and thank you, Sherry.
Thank you, Sherry, for everything.
You're welcome.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.
All right.